What's up, guys? Time for a random little life update on the shipping container, on my life, on some new things happening here with the business, I guess you could call it. Also, new partnership and some cool products to check out. So first, let's go outside and pick up my big mess and we'll get started. I feel like as you get older, you're told not to lift heavy things, but changing table for the new baby needs to get into the house. I'm not 100% sure the best way to pick this up. All right. Oh, actually, not too bad. There we go. Definitely helps a lot taking out the drawers. Huge thank you to you all for the response on my last video of the container shop. I think it's almost like 300,000 views, which is the most viewed video I've ever made. And yeah, so thank you guys. If you saw the container shop video build and left a comment, thank you so much. If you haven't seen that and you want to know how I built what I'm standing in right now, it's just one video behind this, I think, and go check it out. But I got a lot of great comments on that last video and a lot of great constructive criticism, a lot of which I had anticipated since it wasn't done when I built the shop, but took some of your guys' advice and implemented some safety stuff that I had planned, but I finally figured out how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to show you that in this video. And then also just kind of give you an update on some other stuff. I got a new partnership that I want to announce and some new products and just kind of give you a little update. So yeah, let's do it. So first things first, let's go over the safety on the shipping container because that was like the biggest concern everybody had, and rightfully so. I want to say I knew it, but whatever. So a lot of people were concerned with the bowing of the door, saying that this door was unsafe and structurally unsound. And it actually made me kind of second guess it, but I'm here to reassure you that it is not. The bowing, or the kind of smile that it had in the door, was actually mostly from welding it on the outside perimeter. And when you weld something, it heats up and it shrinks. And so it kind of bowed the shape of the door. And I fixed that, as you can see. It's just about perfectly flat. I still need to bend it a little more, but what I did was used both my trucks to pin the door to the corners and put a kettlebell right here in the middle. I probably have footage of that I'm hopefully displaying right now. And I used the trucks to pin it back and try to take that smile out of it and almost give it a positive bend, but I didn't succeed in giving it a positive bend. I actually haven't even got it fully flat, and I know that because the corners still show a little bit of light when the center is connected down here. So I still have a little bit more bending to do because it makes contact in the middle, and I still got a little gap of light on the corners. But really happy to take out that sagging look because that looked terrible, and I agree it did look like it was unsafe, but glad to know that it is stiff enough to hold itself up like that. And by far the biggest upgrade and also biggest concern from everybody who saw that first video was make a hydraulic lockout for the jacks. They're Harbor Freight jacks. You don't want to trust your life with them. I 100% agree. And I had something planned the whole time. I just wasn't sure how I was going to execute it. And I think I finally figured it out. So this is just a temporary one, but this is a piece of 2x2 eighth wall steel, and I just cut the center out, and it's basically channel that's connected up here and it's captured, and now my jack is basically one solid piece of steel. And those jacks are so heavy duty that I think this is a great solution, because what I'm going to do is reinforce the mounting points. So right now this is 2 by 3 inch 8th wall steel. This is a trailer tongue receiver that I cut up. So this is like, it's not quite 1/4 inch, it's like 3/16 plus, I think. Can't remember the actual material size, but this is super heavy duty. But this could be a little thicker, and so what I did was I went and got some 3 by 3 1/4 wall tubing, and I got some, hello cricket, I got some 2 by 3 1/4 wall tubing, and I'm going to use this this one right here. I'm going to cut out the top section like this to make this a really deep channel, and I'm going to drill through here a pinhole, and it's going to be pinned with the jack head at the top, come down to here, and when this jack, it'll be resting on top of here, and when this jack extends to the right height, it'll drop into place and basically lock off this jack, creating a solid piece of steel from top to bottom. And then this mounting point will be that heavy duty 1/4 inch 3 by 3. So I've got some work to do, because what I've got to do is basically cut out the old mount and fab up those lockouts. But in the end, it's going to be a really nice solid way to hold this door up, and really simple. And I can just stand over here at the splitter for the different jacks and basically just open the valves until these open up to the right height, and they'll lock in place. So I'm really happy with that. Took me a little while, even though it's super simple, to come up with exactly how I was going to do that. And actually how I figured it out was when I made the new mounts for the jacks, the 2x2 fits in between that material perfectly. And it was like, oh, that's all I needed to have the inspiration to have it pinned in there, have it all like solid, so I don't have to reach up and place the lockout in there or anything like that. It'll just fall into place really nicely. The other thing I did was upgrade the knob on the jack. So before I had used a pair of pliers to adjust this. This is the valve for locking out the hydraulics. And I just welded on some of these little wrenches that I've had in my toolbox forever that I like never use. So that ended up being a great way to use these, because now I can get full leverage on here and easily adjust and lock it out nice and tight. Next order of business, I'm super happy to announce that I'm partnering with Anker Solix, which makes the fridge I'm sitting on, the batteries I've been using in the truck for the last 1.5 years, and the new power station that is going to charge or hold a charge and power the whole shipping container with solar, and even be able to back up my house. So let's dive into that real quick. Yeah, so super excited about this partnership. One, because I really like Anker products. I've been working with them for over 1 year. I've had their products long before I was working with them, and I've been really impressed with the quality of them. I think if you saw last year, I got the C1000X, which I used to run my welder for a test in one of the videos, and I actually went out to Florida with them and met some of their team, and then I went out to Overland Expo West and got to link up with their team and kind of hang out in their booth and stuff like that as well. So it's been a partnership that's been brewing for the last 1.5 years, and I'm super excited to make it official and be a brand ambassador for them for this whole year. So I've got some of their products here with me. I want to show you something new, the fridge, and also a super brief intro. I'm gonna do a full video on the the battery that I'm going to use for the power of the whole shop with rigid solar panels, and be able to even back up the house, like turn the house on if we have a power outage. This battery can do that, but I think that has to wait for another video. I think what we'll do first is, 1, announce the partnership, and then 2, let's take a look at the new fridge cooler that they sent that doesn't require a standalone power station. Okay, so quick overview of this. This is the Anker Solix Everfrost 2, which is like their portable fridge. They're calling it a cooler, and it doesn't need a power source like to be plugged in like most other RV fridges, because it actually has its own battery. So that's probably the biggest thing about this, is that you can get these batteries from them. It comes with one, you can get two, there's 2 slots for it. And this little guy has USB-C and USB-A ports on it, so you can take it off, use it to charge your laptop, use your phone. But plug it in back here and it powers the fridge. And the nice thing about this is that you can use that setup with it plugged into your car while you're driving. It's charging, keeping that battery charged, keeping the fridge cold. As soon as you turn the car off, no problem. The fridge has its own battery and is going to stay cooling when your car is off, when you're camping. And they said that with 2 batteries in here, this can last up to 4 days on its own, which is crazy. I think this is going to be a perfect option for people who maybe don't necessarily have a built-in camper like me, but just like to go camping, throw a cooler in the back of the truck, but don't necessarily want to have to buy a battery or figure out a place to store the battery plug-in just to plug in the fridge. This would be way simpler. Keep it in the back of the truck, just run this to your power outlet, and you're all set. The other nice thing about this is that it's kind of set up more for taking away from the truck. You know, like, so instead of having to stay in your truck and do everything in the truck, you could take this to your campsite, take it down to the beach, which is what I'll probably end up doing with it. They have other beach specific wheels you can put on, which are like really big, so you can drag it on the beach and it won't sink into the sand. Folds up, has carry handles, and it's 40 liters. Let's take a look in here and just show you how big this is. So if you're not familiar with fridge sizes, this is a 40 liter fridge, and this particular one is about 14 inches across on the inside, a little bit more, by a foot, and it is 14 inches, just over 14 inches deep. So it is a lot of space. Normally I have a smaller fridge, which is that's just a 20 liter fridge, and that's usually enough for me. So this is way more than enough. A ton of space, probably more than I need for, you know, short trips, but perfect for just being able to go to the beach, throw in stuff, and tons of space. Has a little drain plug if you build up moisture and whatnot. That's nice for cleaning this out. Inside looks really nice. It has a little light as well, so you can see if you're opening this up in the dark, see what you're getting into. Something else kind of unique about this is their Frost Flow air cooling fan, which is designed by Anker Innovations. Basically what this does is it distributes the cool air evenly. So instead of the cool air just kind of being close to the compressor, like wherever the outlet is, and having one area of the cooler be colder than the others, it's actually going to move all that around, and they say it keeps stuff evenly cool a lot better. It also is supposed to be able to go from about 75 degrees to 32 degrees in 15 minutes, which is really nice. So throw your stuff in here, turn this thing on, put it on max, drop the temperature really quick, and I think that is primarily because it's moving all that cool air around and cooling stuff really efficiently. So that's pretty cool. No pun intended. Woo! So you can really freeze stuff, which is cool. You can put ice cream in here, no problem. And yeah. This is just a little storage bin right now because this is a spot where you can put a second battery. But if you're not using that second battery, perfect spot for that's kind of nice. Charging, got the cigarette lighter outlet for your car. Also got a solar input. I think that's an XT60. So you can plug a solar panel directly into the fridge, charge that battery. I think it can take up to 100 watts of solar. Everything else is like about 90 watts input. So yeah, guys, it's a fridge cooler that you could bring to the beach. Don't have to plug in an external power source. Doesn't need its own battery. Can last up to 4 days with both batteries plugged in, and rolls really well. Fit and finish seems good. Seems very durable. I think this would be a really great option for a lot of people to be able to use an electric cooler, fridge, freezer without having ice, without having one of those other batteries plugged in or some more complex setup. I think I'm going to be using it for the beach, and also just keeping in the back of my truck, keeping the kids' lunches cold, keeping snacks cold, and grocery shopping. Sometimes I'm out grocery shopping while I'm waiting. You know, I'm in town and I have like dead spots to drop off Christian at school, hanging out with the little girls. We have a couple hours. I'll hit the gym, then go to the grocery store, but I won't want to buy frozen stuff because I still have like 2 hours before I pick up Christian and come home. I'm not saying you need to spend like hundreds of dollars just to avoid that situation where you can't buy frozen stuff at the store because you don't want it to melt in your car. This would be the perfect option for that. All right, next, let's talk the Tacoma camper, because this is something I just took on recently. I need to do some more. I've been needing to refresh the paint on the camper because I don't know if maybe I have a picture. It was getting pretty beat up. I had painted it previously just kind of quickly 2 years ago when I was taking it to one of the expos, and I just needed to touch it up, and I didn't ever do a very good job, and I painted it kind of in the wind, so it was all blotchy. This I just repainted, and I actually used the same paint sprayer that I used to spray the shipping container, which is this cheap Harbor Freight 120 powered sprayer, which I did not unfortunately clean out after I sprayed it last night. But I'm using paint from Home Depot, which I thought would be kind of an interesting idea. This is direct to metal paint. This whole thing was $50 or like $48. I got eggshell, and they mixed it to match the truck. And when I say match the truck, what I did was I took this little piece of trim. This is so bad. I need new headlights. But I took this little trim piece off. I'll take it off right now, and took that in to Home Depot and had them color match it. Wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I was just super curious if that could be a good option. Obviously, it's not got the speckle and the metallic of the truck, but overall, it actually turned out to be a pretty good complement to the truck. I think it matches. It looks nice on the truck. And the advantage of using that paint sprayer versus like a spray can is the coverage is incredible. Like, you don't have any of that blotchy spray can back and forth lines. You get way more paint on it. It is so fast because a ton of paint is coming out, and it seems to be really durable. Now, the disadvantage of my particular case was I didn't mix the paint very well with water to make it thin enough to spray out of that little sprayer that I have. And on this side, I got a couple of runs, which is a big bummer. So I'm gonna have to sand this down. I created a little bit more work for myself, and probably spray it again. Here's another run. That thing is kind of tricky, but I think if you could nail it, the finish comes out actually pretty nice. And that house paint or whatever, direct to metal paint from Home Depot actually looks really good. The disadvantage of doing that, I think, is it's going to be harder to do more detailed stuff without getting paint everywhere. So I'm going to take the aluminum top off, take the fenders off, take the cases out, all that kind of stuff, and going to have to cover up the frame and then spray this with that paint. The advantage of doing like a traditional spray can, of course, is that I could pop into the store at any time, buy a can of that paint, touch up anything, and also it's way easier to be accurate and not overspray. So I don't know, I wanted to test it out. I'm really happy with the coverage, the overall color match to the truck, but I'm not sure it's going to be the perfect solution. It's just what I did right now. You can also see I totally sprayed my gas struts. I'm just going to replace those because those have been in there for a couple years, and they're getting a little faded and I think a little weaker. So new struts, that'll look nice. I took off the handles so I didn't have to mask over them. Those will go back on there nicely, and should look pretty sharp. All right. Last thing for this video is kind of where I'm at with the Tacoma project. So if you followed me for a while, you know the Tacoma's been my main project, and I actually completed it mostly quite a long time ago. But right now, before I start working on the Ranger, the 2021 Ranger, I'm gonna just kind of prep this, kind of fix up some of the little details of it, so that while I'm not using it as much and focusing on the Ranger, it's ready to go for shows, for camping, for filming with it, and just so it's sitting nice and not like kind of just being left unattended to. So there's a couple things I want to fix with it. Maybe you guys have some suggestions. Number one, I want to get new headlights. I have these retrofitted projector headlights, and I've had them in there for quite a few years, and the lenses are faded, but also they just kind of, like, the whole two-piece headlight that originally comes with these trucks is just, I don't know, they never stay in. So I think there's one-piece headlights. If you guys know of first gen Tacoma one-piece headlights that have good projectors in them, I would love to know your suggestions for that. Second, I'm gonna touch up the paint on the bumper. I'm gonna repaint the fender flares with some Raptor liner. That lasted about 1.5 years before it faded, maybe 2 years before it faded. Contemplating maybe even just spending the money to buy new fender flares, because it'll probably last and stay black for way more years. So maybe I'll do that, but refresh the fender flares, refresh the paint on the rock sliders. Going to go through the camper, the flatbed, sand everything down, fill in some of these holes that I had drilled in the back right here that I didn't end up using. That was for when I was working with the drop bed sides. I didn't end up using those. I ended up using these. So there's some extra holes that don't need to be there. Sand this down, repaint it, and just touch up all the paint and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm gonna get new shocks for the back. Currently I have just the Bilstein 5100s, which I've had on there since the beginning of time. And my friend Ben, who I've had a video of his truck, his camper set up on my channel before, he's running a different set of shocks that are more dampening, and made a huge difference for him. So I'm gonna do those. What else? I'd like to replace these guys. Just basically, and replace the front window because it's got a big crack, and basically just kind of refresh the Tacoma so that it looks perfect and it is all nice and clean and ready to go, and isn't, sitting on the sidelines kind of in a, what is the word I'm looking for? Kind of like neglected, I want it to be really nice while I'm not using it, so that, yeah, I just feel like it deserves that. But that's where I'm at right now with projects on this guy. Kind of just got this all set up. I just did some work on my sister's Tacoma, my sister's Ranger. So once I wrap up kind of refreshing this, it'll be on to working on, I think, her Ranger for a little bit, because I'm still waiting for the registration to complete on that. Nothing to do with the salvage title. Unfortunately, something to do with the people we bought it through. So I'm still waiting on that to finish up. But once that finishes, then I can start cutting the frame on the Ranger. So yeah, guys. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this simple little update from the container shop. Sorry for rambling so much, but yeah, excited to be working with Anker this year. Huckberry, and a bunch of other brands, Firestone, Hest, and Leatherman. You'll see more stuff from them as well. So huge thank you to you guys as always. Wouldn't be possible without everyone who watches the channel, has subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead. If you like this stuff, I'd love it if you did subscribe. Man, I'm the worst at YouTube. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.